is a rich moral repository from which we can draw many lessons for growing and sustaining our society, primarily through women's leadership in healthcare and education. At the heart of Ubuntu Bulam lies the understanding that we are all interconnected. Our health and our education are not isolated struggles, but shared burdens and shared triumphs. The values of unity, compassion, and collective responsibility that define Ubuntu Bulam are the very values that can address today's most pressing health and educational challenges. HIV/AIDS, malaria, maternal mortality, and the educational barriers faced by girls remain key issues across the continent. These challenges cannot be solved in isolation, and they cannot be solved without working together. The values of Ubuntu Bulam offer a pathway that recognizes that the true progress can only be achieved when every individual in our community is cared for and supported. When we approach challenges with unity, compassion, or empathy, and collective responsibility, we ensure that no one is left behind. This is not just a call to action for women, it is a call to action for all of us as we strive towards a pandemic-free and equitable future. Now, leveraging culture frameworks to strengthen community resilience. Africa's strength lies not only in its diversity, but also its rich cultural heritage. From the traditional healers who provided time-honored indigenous medicines that combat diseases like malaria, to the community leaders who advocated for education and built schools, our cultures offer frameworks that have long ensured resilience. As we confront modern health and educational challenges, we must embrace and leverage these culture frameworks. We cannot ignore the wisdom of our elders, the guidance of our community leaders, and the support structures within our societies that have sustained us through many crises. Through Ubuntu Bulam, we learn that we must not discard our cultural wisdom, but adapt to the modern context. Adapt it to the modern context. By bringing together positive traditional practices and constructive modern solutions, we can build communities that are both resilient and empowered to face any challenge. As women, we are keepers and custodians of cultural knowledge and are therefore central to the process of integration and innovation. The critical role of women in ensuring access to health and education. Women have always been at the forefront of community health and education. As mothers and daughters, women are the ones who care for the sick and teach the young. All over Africa, women are the driving force behind efforts to provide healthcare to the most vulnerable, to ensure children are educated, and to build communities where everyone has the opportunity to survive and thrive. Of women's contributions is often overlooked. Women's leadership in health and education is not only important, it is essential. We cannot forget the work that they do on the front lines of healthcare as doctors and nurses in hospitals and rural health centers. For example, COVID-19 pandemic, women in Uganda took on a central role in the crisis as healthcare frontline workers, caregivers, innovators, and community organizers through their exemplary leadership. We recall the nurses, mainly women, who selflessly cared for the COVID-19 hospitals and healthcare centers throughout the country when the entire nation was in lockdown. They clearly espoused service. And we cannot forget women's roles as fee-paying parents, ensuring that children, especially girls, attend school, as well as the tireless teachers and head teachers who strive to keep our societies running by educating the youth. We must ensure that women are empowered to continue their vital work by providing them the tools, resources, and support they need. Now, examples of successes or successful initiatives led by women reflecting Ubuntu Bulamu principles. Across Africa, women have already begun leading successful initiatives that embody the principles of Ubuntu Bulamu. And I think some of them were among the panelists that were here before me. We really appreciate the kind of work that you do. In Uganda, for example, women have led community-based programs aimed at HIV prevention and awareness. Now, these grassroots movements have transformed communities, excuse me, using education, empathy, and compassion to break the silence and stigma around HIV. Women have not only served as caregivers and educators, but also as champions of change. During the COVID-19 lockdown, we recall the market owners or the market vendors who were primarily female and leaders in their own right, who worked to see that the access to food, healthcare, and other services were not disrupted. We all recall the women who made the markets in Kampala their home, sacrificing taking care of their children in their homes and other domestic work for the common good. These examples show that Ubuntu Bulamu is not a mere ideal. It is a practical, lived reality, one that can create tangible solutions to the challenges we face today. In promoting women's leadership in health and education. Now, as we continue to make strides towards a better future, we must also advocate for women's leadership in decision-making positions within the health and education sectors. I think somebody mentioned a very high number of women parliamentarians and women in leadership role. So far, Uganda is doing quite well, but we still need to do better. Now, women's voices must be heard in policy discussions. I think more women voices in boardrooms and in classrooms and hospitals. To ensure that women can contribute meaningfully, we need to create ways for women to get into leadership positions, whether as technocrats, legislators, educators, or medical experts. Women must be present where decisions are made, excuse me, about the health and the education of their children. They have to be present where those decisions are being made. And I think I must recognize the fact that the Minister of Education in our country is a woman, and we're with her right now. So that's a very dynamic example. We thank you very much, Mama Janet, for all that you do in the education ministry. Only through